Hey, I'm Dr. Janine. Great to have you here. Please say hello and where you are watching from today. It's always great when I come live. There's always new people that start to tune in and then, of course, become followers, which I love. So please hit that follow button. If you are here for the first time, be sure to hit that share button as well. And yeah, it's great to have you here. Tanya, Nanny, thank you for tuning in. DL Petway, hello. Nice to have you here. Kester Tony, hello. Danesh and Vivek, hello. And Gorky, did I say that right? In Germany, hello, guten Tag. Great to have you here. Nikki in Brooklyn, NYC, and One-Eyed Mike in Guelph. Great to have you here. Thanks for tuning in. T.D. Maria, hello. Zashrina in Malaysia, thanks for tuning in. And Dennis in NYC as well. Great to have you here. Thanks so much. Vivek in India, Shovita in Shovid from Oslo. Thank you for tuning in today. All right, I did get it right. Okay, that's fantastic, Gorky. Great to have you all here. Bilan in Somalia and Ladu Keen in Florida. Hello. Poopy is here. Is Wyoming, W-Y is Wyoming. Did I get that right? All right, and Irene from Michigan, great to have you here. Well, thank you for tuning in. If you do have questions, please make sure you put them in the comment section. I can do a little bit of a review, of course, on Tuesday. So that was yesterday. We had the Dr. Janine show, and we went through some great topics. So we talked about some of the tips for a great night's sleep. And again, if you want me to revisit any of these, make sure that you put it in the comment section, as well as anti-aging tips. I showed you a technique with the Guasha, which was amazing. I talked about eating local foods that are growing close to you, which is also very important for your metabolism and your ability to actually utilize specific nutrients in specific seasons to actually help your metabolism and your mitochondria and your connection with your outer environment. We also talked about EMFs, electromagnetic fields. And I'm talking about not the native ones, I'm talking about the non-native EMFs. Those are the ones that are from all of our devices. Of course, the Earth has its own EMF, and the Sun, which are the healthy frequencies. That's not what we were talking about yesterday. We talked about some of the compromising effects of having, those outer EMFs, usually man-made EMFs, which are really compromising to your health, mess up your cellular metabolism, and was, something that, of course, I talked about in my book. So if you don't yet know about my new book, it is something that is very exciting that now it's called The Lost Medicine. I'll show you what the cover looks like. And a lot of the topics that I talk about in my social media, there it is, are in, of course, my new book. So happy to finally be able to share this. All right, so we also talked about some toxic ingredients found in a lot of vitamins, minerals, supplements, the BHT and BHA, things to be aware of in terms of toxic ingredients, and I can review that as well. Okay, 1977, good sleep tips. Should we review that? Okay, and Jay Slambertus is asking, how do you know if you are leptin resistant? That's a great question. Okay, I'm going to visit both of those. Maybe we can put it in my notes here, and I'll come back to the leptin resistance. But let's first talk about a great night's sleep. Okay, these are some of the tips that I talked about yesterday. So number one, seeing the sunrise. Okay, so that's really important, because if you're not seeing the sunrise, then you're not programming your circadian biology, your circadian rhythms, to be able to wake up for the day, to be able to make sure that you are optimizing your ability for your brain to be in connection with all of the other clock mechanisms in your other organs. So when you miss the sunrise, which is the first signal of the day, think of nature, and I look at the birds and the animals in the forest. I mean, that first light is the signal that the new day has begun, and that's when you start your day, and that's when your metabolism starts, and all your hormones get into sync, and your digestion, everything is turned on by that morning light. So if you're missing that, let's say you're indoors, you're a shift worker, maybe you wear sunglasses or you wear glasses to cover your eyes, you cover your skin and your eyes aren't getting the proper signaling to start the day. Now, how does that translate into sleep? Well, did you know that your melatonin, of course, the hormone of darkness, starts to be made in the morning by seeing that morning light? So this is important. If you're missing that signal, then you're always sort of playing catch up for having that proper melatonin secretion for that good night's sleep. So seeing that early morning light, really important. If you can't get outside, which is, of course, the best way to do it is to get outside, get grounded. So take off your socks and shoes, be grounded outside. At the very least, get by an open window. So open a window so that natural sunlight is coming in to your eyes, on your skin, and then your body's getting the right signals to turn on for the day to be able to make that melatonin, to have that release at nighttime. Get on a regular sleep schedule is something that we talked about. So that your timing of your sleep schedule, it should be very regular, even on weekends, which is very difficult for a lot of people, and especially if you do shift work. So I actually have an entire section in my book for shift workers. So if you are a shift worker, that can really compromise your health. So I do have tips in my book as to how to deal and sort of manage shift work with your circadian biology. Sleeping in a dark room and sleeping in a cool room. So ideally between 65 and 68 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 18 to 20 degrees Celsius, is something that's really, really important. Okay, so should I come back to leptin resistance? Okay, so how do you know that you have leptin resistance? Okay, there's a lot of symptoms of leptin resistance. If you're hungry all the time, you're always thinking about food, you're never satisfied, and if you have a lot of inflammation in your body, so aches and pains and joint pain, if you have trouble getting to sleep at night, if you can't get up really easily in the morning, your cortisol levels could be all over the map. If you have insulin resistance and high blood glucose levels, usually it was the leptin resistance that happened first. Certain things in your blood work could indicate a bit of leptin resistance as well, like a low DHEA. Cholesterol levels could be maybe not so balanced. And if you have thyroid issues, that would be another indication that potentially there was a leptin resistance happening first before you actually developed, or that was part and parcel with, of course, what's happening with your thyroid. So that is something that you definitely want to make sure that you're getting a handle on. I actually have a whole section in my book about leptin resistance and the tips how to fix your leptin resistance. So that is something that you'll definitely learn there. Okay, here's a great question. What about teens? Don't they have a weird circadian rhythm? Yes, they do. And teens, okay, here's the thing. The younger you are, the stronger your mitochondria are, and you can sort of get away with things. However, without that, sort of buffer of your strong mitochondria, more mitochondria, what happens with teens is that now, because they're up on their devices, so yeah, give me a thumbs up if you know a teen who's up on their phones or devices, shining that blue light into their eyes at nighttime and messing up their circadian biology. This will affect their metabolism, their growth, their hormones, and potentially, can lead to more serious, diseases, whether that's eye diseases, and we're seeing that in younger and younger children now. And, my family is here. Thank you so much. In Lubeck, great to have you here. Thanks for tuning in. So this becomes really important in terms of, managing a teen's circadian rhythms. Okay, so if they're going to be on their phone and they don't listen to you, maybe have rules about getting rid of the phone at nighttime when it, soon after it becomes dark. Is that possible all the time? I don't know. Maybe it's about wearing the blue light blocking glasses. If they're absolutely needing to be on a device, that they're wearing the blue light blocking glasses. And, just getting into that normal circadian rhythm. Not all teenagers like to get up in the morning. And this is where I give a little bit of leeway with growing teens that, to get in a couple of extra hours of sleep in the morning. They're not necessarily getting up with the sun, but maybe that's going to help their growth. I don't know. Okay, so this is something that, again, every teen is different, but for children to help kids sleep better is to make the room very dark. And in my home, it gets very dark at nighttime. Whatever lights are on, I'm shutting off lights. If you do have lights on and you need to see around your environment, have lights lower to the ground. Red lights are better if you can. And that would be, lighting is really, really important. Your light environment in terms of how awake you're going to be. If there's screens on, you've got the blue light blocking glasses on. In terms of helping children to get into that regular sleep schedule as well. I mean, the tips that I shared really do apply to the children as well. And not eating after dark, okay? So that's another thing that's hard for a lot of people. A lot of people feel that they need to eat, especially carbohydrates before bed. It's gonna spike your blood glucose levels, not a great thing. So trying to manage that as well. And getting a lot more sunlight during the day, and let kids be kids and run outside all day. Like when I was a kid, I don't know who can agree with me, give me a thumbs up, that, when we were younger, we were outside all day. all day under natural full spectrum light. We didn't wear sunglasses back then. We're outside, running around, swimming, running, playing, biking, whatever, getting hurt, getting dirty, doing all these things, gymnastics, exactly, right? And I think we've lost that a lot now with the games and everything and the kids being inside. So let them play outside, let them be kids, let them exhaust themselves during the day so that they can sleep better at night. I mean, just makes sense, right? And a lot of the things that I talk about actually in my book are there to a certain extent. They are common sense, but also, you know, there's a lot of science now that backs up the fact that things like grounding, taking off your socks, shoes, getting more natural sunlight exposure really does help your health in general. All right. Thank you. It's great to have you all here today. I know another question, can walking on asphalt be grounding? That's a tough one. Probably most times not. Even concrete can be difficult if there was a barrier underneath. That ideally grass, soil, sand, in the ocean, in a lake is more going to be more grounding. Asphalt, I would say not as much. I haven't tested it myself, so I can't say 100%, but I would say not so great, okay? So again, a natural environment, natural surfaces for grounding is gonna be definitely better. Great to have you here. Yes, Belandia, thank you for the thumbs up. That is a great comment that you shared right there. Thank you so much. And it's okay if you're just tuning in now. Husna, yesterday, and we're just sort of revisiting some of the things that I talked about yesterday. We also talked about some of the health benefits of sound therapy. It's one actually chapter in my book all about using sound to help you to heal. And we talked specifically yesterday about 432 hertz music. So this is something that I actually have a playlist that you can check out. It's called the Be Still channel. So, and in my book, you can actually reference. So the great thing about this is in my book, and you can see it here. So this is from page 38. We have QR codes. So you just take your phone, and again, your phone is on airplane mode, remember, because we talked about EMF exposure yesterday, so that's one of my hacks, okay? So have your phone on airplane mode. You're gonna scan the QR code, and then you can be, able to tune into that very specific frequency. We actually have a sound engineer that I worked with to create this healing music, and that 432 hertz is known as the natural frequency of the universe. It helps to heal and relieve stress in the body and the mind, and in one study, they actually found that 432 hertz was able to decrease anxiety in patients before they went in to have dental work, and they were able to measure that. So yeah, it is definitely amazing. Gym addict, yes, cool dark room for sleeping. Windows open all winter, no matter what the outside temperature is. I love that. Amazing. Thank you so much to everybody who's tuning in today. It's great to have you here. And Joanne Lopez, any help for high cortisol? Great question. Okay, so cortisol, it depends what high actually means. So the thing with cortisol is that I'm more concerned about when your cortisol is high versus it being high. And what was once thought as, adrenal fatigue, you're stressed out, you've got high cortisol. Now I believe, we've come full circle in the fact that high cortisol isn't necessarily always a bad thing. Like for instance, elite athletes, they have high cortisol, but that part of that stress response is what makes them effective at their sport. So it's not always about the high cortisol and the adrenals, it's tying back to some of the other things that I talked about earlier, like the leptin issue, leptin resistance, and something called pregnenolone steal. I don't know if we can find this. Can we find the pregnenolone steal? I'm gonna have my team kind of look for this slide, and I'll explain it to you. So pregnenolone is something that is from cholesterol, and I'll show you this on the chart once we find it. And what your body's gonna do is preferentially make cortisol. Now this happens when you have leptin resistance, when you have chronic inflammation, when you are not getting enough natural sunlight exposure. Thank you. Okay, so let's look at this with cortisol, because this is a great question coming in, Joanne, about cortisol levels. Okay, so cholesterol. Cholesterol is not the bad guy. Cholesterol is good. We all need cholesterol. All right, so that's important. Anybody you know that's taking, something to lower their cholesterol, if it's not natural, then that could be, down the road somewhat problematic, because you're going to see how important cholesterol is for pregnenolone and making DHEA, making testosterone, estrogen, conversion of T4 to T3 for our active thyroid hormone. Remember, this is our metabolism, our body temperature, as well as we need that cholesterol for pregnenolone to make progesterone, aldosterone. So this is going to affect blood pressure, cortisol. All right, so here's what happens when you've got leptin resistance and maybe high stress, but I always believe probably that the leptin is an issue first, is called something pregnenolone steal syndrome. So what's happening is your body preferentially is going to make cortisol, that stress hormone, just to keep you alive, okay? And this is where now downstream hormones like DHEA, your testosterone, estrogen, your thyroid hormones, can get messed up and not be properly regulated because your body is preferentially making that cortisol. So this becomes more important to me in terms of, okay, yes, it was, you've been diagnosed with high cortisol. Is it this happening because you have the leptin problem? All right, so this is where, the tips that I share in my social media about leptin, and I had to fix it myself. I had to do all this learning for myself because I discovered that I myself had leptin resistance. Even, being a naturopath and studying everything that I studied, this was something that was new for me to learn about the leptin resistance, and that's why I shared it in my new book, because I think it's so important that we, again, always get to the root cause as to why there's problems that are affecting us in our health. Okay. Anxiety, heart palpitations, Stephanie, yes, so for anxious thoughts, I want you to look at that music, so definitely check that out, the 432 hertz. You can check it out on social platforms, that you can play that and listen to that for chronic anxiety and stress. Definitely the pregnenolone steal thing, so learning more about the leptin resistance is going to be important. Just getting out into nature. Okay, and that's something that I talk about in my book as well, like just going for a walk. They've actually studied this in Japan. It's called Shinrin-yoku, and I have some videos on social media about that. It means going out and taking a walk in nature, and what the researchers found is that it significantly really reduced cortisol levels, the feelings of stress and anxiety. So that is something that's really important, as well as optimizing your mineral density. So a lot of our foods don't have the same type of minerals that they once did. This is where seafood is amazing, foods that are high in DHA. You need those minerals like magnesium. This is one of the things that I supplement, magnesium bisglycinate. Personally, I take it, and making sure that it doesn't have, of course, any other fillers and flow agents, making sure, another thing that we talked about yesterday, that it doesn't have BHT or BHA. So you've got to check your vitamin labels very carefully, your supplements, your vitamins. Okay, so BHT, BHA, these are added, they add it as an antioxidant, but it's a synthetic one that they add into a lot of supplements and sometimes the liquid formulations as well. BHT, butylated hydroxytoluene. It's a chemical, and it's been linked to some big serious diseases out there I won't name. And in terms of cell replication, you can guess what that is. So this is a big problem. And so yeah, for it to be in your supplements, and something that maybe it's an endocrine disruptor they've discovered as well, meaning that it can mess up your hormones, maybe it's something that we should be avoiding. And I've got a whole list. So this is from page 225 in my book. I have a whole list of other things to be avoiding, of course, in your supplements and in foods as well. You can find some of these ingredients. So yeah, I'll go through different ones. Of course, we'll be back in a couple weeks for the next Dr. Janine show, and we'll have all new topics. So come back in a couple weeks. I believe it's the 19th of, am I right? In the 19th of August. Which is a Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So just take a note of that, so that to make sure that you come back for the next live show when we talk all things natural, as we do on Tuesdays for the Dr. Janine show. It's so great to have you here. Thank you so much. Eva, you're up in Halliburton. Yes, so being outside with the lake, the trees, I understand. You feel so good when you're out in nature, and it's hard to get back into a city when you've got, a beautiful natural surrounding. You just feel better because nature gives us so much in terms of, helping us to heal. Okay, Jamie is saying some of your apps don't work on airplane mode. Yeah, I mean, there's always, a catch-22. How important are the apps to you, right? And how much are you having to use them during the day? So yeah, so making these little decisions for yourself is what makes the big difference in the long run. When we talk about EMFs really quickly, there was a big study that was done in terms of increasing the risk of a very serious disease has to do with cellular regulation and how our cells divide. And yeah, they found that just 1,000 hours, I don't know if we can pull up the study really quickly and you can look it up yourself, I quoted it in my book, but just 1,000 hours, okay, of cell phone use. So that's about 17 minutes per day. So if you're saying to yourself, okay, I would never spend 1,000 hours on a phone. That equates to just 17 minutes per day on a cell phone. Over 10 years, I think most of us have had a cell phone, but for 10 years now. So if you're talking at it for 17 minutes, it increases the risk of tumors by, and this is brain tumors, by 60%. Huge statistic, okay? So this is something that we definitely need to learn tips how to, I'm not saying that you don't talk on a cell phone any longer, but definitely use some tips how to decrease that exposure. Increase your distance from your cell phone when you are speaking, and I'm not talking about talking in the phone in the car, because that Bluetooth is also a bad thing. That was on my list yesterday of, some of the toxic exposures of those EMFs, which are not natural, not great for your health. So that's really important. Okay, questions about yes, hyperthyroidism, also very commonly associated with EMF exposure and not getting enough natural sunlight exposure, being disconnected, so not grounding, taking off your socks and shoes and getting outside. Really, really important for thyroid disorders, linking back to that leptin resistance issue as well. So that's really important. So checking out the leptin resistance is so important. Okay, Stephanie, belly fat during menopause. Love this question. So stay tuned because I've got a lot of data coming on this. And I don't want to say too much, but yes, there will be a lot of information specifically for ladies in perimenopause and menopause in the pipeline. So please, I hope that you are following and just stay tuned for that. Jazen is asking, are EMF necklaces and bracelets effective? I think they can be. They will never be as effective as, abstaining from using EMF devices. But at the same time, one of the drawbacks of wearing the necklaces and the bracelets and using the stones and things is that it could give you a false sense of protection. And you may end up using your devices more because you have this false sense of protection. So I think there is a place for them. I've used some of them myself. Some of the stones and things I actually talk about in my book, so you can check that out. But it should never replace the fact that you should be trying to abstain from using and having close contact with EMF sources, if that makes sense. Thank you to all my new followers today as well. I see a lot of new people. Estelle, thank you for sharing today's live as well. I appreciate that and all the hearts coming in. I appreciate you all. It's so great to have you all here today. I'm Dr. Janine. If you're just tuning in for the first time, please say hello and where you're from. And it's so great that you are here and, maybe learning something and hearing something new and for the first time. That's what I talk about here. So all things natural. And, today is the Q&A. So on Wednesdays, as a follow-up to the Tuesday show, so of course, yesterday, if you missed it, we had the Dr. Janine show, but it does live on social media, so you can check it out. Yesterday, we went through different topics. We talked about EMFs. We talked about good sleep. We did some facial techniques for anti-aging, for hooded eyes with the Guasha. So if anybody wants to see that again, just give me put a face or a happy face or something, or Guasha, to let me know that, and I'll go over there into the beauty set and we can review that as well. A Joyful Angel in the Philippines. Hello, nice to have you here. Vetman in Wisconsin, thank you for tuning in today. Dr. Basifa in Albania, thank you for tuning in. It's great to have you here. Eileen in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, Dr. Basifa is asking about H. pylori specifically. There are some herbal medicines that I love. One combination which I've had great success with over the years is called Cabo. I don't know if my team can find the herbs in there. A lot of my followers, you know exactly, oh, we have it so quickly today. Thank you. All right, so this is my favorite combination for H. pylori, bad organisms in the gut, you know what I'm talking about. So the combination, cloves, artemisia, black walnuts, and oregano. This is all in one product that I take, and it is amazing. So there's a whole protocol that I actually developed for killing off those bad guys in the microbiome, something that we've talked about in previous episodes, and something that surely we will revisit in future shows. Maybe we'll actually revisit it in the next time that I'm live here on the 19th of August. We'll kind of go through the protocol again because I think it's really important and very timely. A lot of people actually have these bad organisms. You don't necessarily know it. And especially I find in the summertime is actually the most opportune time to be able to get rid of these bad guys, and going into fall as well, to kind of do this sort of cleanup of your microbiome, a microbiome cleanse, if you will, and using those herbal medicines. Great combination for the H. pylori as well, which is amazing. Okay, what's my Zagabo opinion on soursop? I believe it is amazing and has helped a lot of people. So if you can get your hands on fresh soursop, then absolutely. Healthy Corner, thank you for sharing today's live. I see all the love coming in and I see all those hearts. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Pero is asking about fibroids. Okay, that's something. Hello in Toronto. Great to have you here. Thank you for tuning in. Claudia, thank you for the follow. It's great to have you here. Okay, so the fibroids, let me talk about that in my next show. I think that's a great topic. I don't know if I'm maxed out on topics yet for my next show, but can we make a note of that, my team, please? Yes, fibroids, yeah, I will talk about that on the 19th, okay? Uterine fibroids and what we can do to balance the hormones, specifically for fibroids as well, because I know a lot of women suffer. It's definitely on the rise. It does have a lot to do with your circadian biology, so a lot of the tips that I have in my book in terms of decreasing your EMF exposure, making sure that you're grounding, getting sunlight exposure, getting your circadian biology on point is going to regulate your hormones and help to actually shrink the thyroid, the fibroids. So that's going to be important. Okay. Specific questions, if you're asking about medications and things, I can't answer that here. I'm so sorry, but you can always leave comments on my social media. My team can help to get back to you. And okay, PVN and spam. I'm so glad that you've been able to see all of my posts. That's amazing. And I'm so glad that you're learning from me. So thank you for tuning in. Make sure that you always share as well. I always say if you learn something new, you should share it with somebody, because somebody else probably needs to know the information if you find it valuable yourself. And that's, you know, the gift of giving to others, which is amazing. Teresa from San Antonio, you want to see the Guasha? Okay, let's go over here into the beauty corner over here in our set, and I'll review a little bit. So yesterday we used, of course, the model Lucy. If you haven't met Lucy yet, we took her head off. Poor Lucy, her head is on the desk. And so yeah, so using the Guasha, what I like to do always first with the Guasha, and what I talked about yesterday is there's different types. You can get a stone one. Just make sure that you wash it well before every time you use it, because they are porous, so you don't want them holding on to bacteria and things. So that's important. And you can use a stainless steel one, you can use a spoon, you can even use your fingers, okay? So if you don't yet have a Guasha, they're very inexpensive. You can purchase them online, and a lot of the stores have them now, which is amazing. But what you want to do first is always drain your lymphatics. So make sure that you're opening up those channels to drain any fluid and lymph that could be congested, which is very commonly a reason why, you know, you could have puffiness in the face, puffiness under the eyes, nasal congestion. There's so many reasons that you want to drain that lymph first. So basically what you're going to do, whether it's with your fingers, massage, or with the Guasha, is to start in the midline always. So I like to go above and below the cheekbone with that sort of notched part of the guasha. So it kind of fits your cheekbone right in the middle. And then you do a little shake when you get to the ear because there's lymphatics right in front of your ear. So doing that motion, oh, here we go. And we're also going to talk about lifting the eye. So we're going to work on these muscles, the orbicularis oculi, the frontalis muscle, and the temporalis to help to lift if you have a hooded eyelid, okay? So first let's move the lymph. So we're going to go up to the ear. I'd like to do this 3-4 times. So along the cheekbone to the ear, do a little shake at the ear. Then you're going to go down the SCM muscle. So down the front here, sternocleidomastoid muscle. You're going to go down with the guasha in this area, and you're doing this bilaterally on both sides. Then down the back of the neck, and that helps to relax those neck muscles as well, which you can't see, but it's the trapezius muscles at the back of the neck. That helps to get the lymph draining. Then you also want to go on the collarbone. So here on Lucy, I just do like a little massage above and below the collarbones. You don't want to press too hard because that can actually shut down the lymphatic flow. So just a little bit of massage, and then ideally under the armpits. So just going like this, and then a bit of a belly rub just to get that lymph flowing. You can also jump up and down a few times, and that helps to get your lymph flowing, okay, at least for the upper part of your body. Then with the guasha, okay, so for hooded eyelids, this is fantastic. You're gonna find a spot it's close to the hairline, and usually there's a tender spot. Okay, so I like to kind of pull my skin up a little bit just beyond my hairline, and above your eye, you're gonna sort of, now I use the point, so one of the points on the guasha, usually I use the one that's sticking out the most. I'm gonna find the point that is very tender. Okay, so I worked this out yesterday, so it's actually, I can feel it, it's a little bit sore from yesterday, and you may actually cause a bit of a bruise, especially if there's congested sort of stuck energy there in traditional Chinese medicine, that can leave a bruise. So you're gonna find that spot, and at the same time, I'm kind of lifting the skin up a little bit and lifting my eyelid, and you just do a little bit of, and it should be a little bit tender. So that tender spot, you're gonna stick with it up to 2 minutes. You don't even need to do it that long depending on how much time you have. And you just rub. And then you can already start to see that the eyelid starts to lift and brighten the eyes. Then I also like to use that tip and go around the eyes, so around the eyebrows, and very slowly kind of go around, and then very gently underneath the eye as well. And then I'll do that, 2 or 3 times, and then that really brightens the eyes. It's great for eyesight as well. It helps to open up, and it actually helps to lift up those droopy eyelids, and it's all natural, which is the best thing. But I have a bunch of those tips actually, and a bunch of beauty tips in my book as well. And these are some of the things that we'll be focusing in on in the Dr. Janine show as well, plus the specific things that you're asking for. But I have a whole section on beauty, and of course, how to do some of these techniques, which is amazing. So there you go. Face yoga, I talk about benefits of face yoga, the guasha, micro needling. So you're going to learn all of that and the techniques in the book. And if you've seen my social media as well, you're going to learn in my social media some of these techniques and some of my favorite facial exercises I have, of course, on my channels as well. Well, thank you to everybody who tuned in today. It was so great to have you here. And make sure you tune in on the 19th, of course, because that's the next live Dr. Janine show. If you do have questions, show suggestions, thanks for all the love that you shared today. Make sure that you are putting it in the comment section as well in terms of my other videos. Then we are always uploading videos. And let me know if you actually have purchased my book. Some of you, at least here in Canada, have been able to get your hands on the book. I want to hear some feedback, okay? I'm so excited to hear how much you love it. All right, we'll see you next time. See you on the 19th, and check out my content in the meantime. See you then. Bye.